Welcome back to the We Them Brothers podcast, episode number, what are we at, 7?
We're number 7.
Lucky number 7.
Episode number 7.
Episode lucky number 7. Of course, I'm Jimmy Hicks. This is our other host, Anthony Rogerson, a.k.a. the star of the show.
Don't.
Just in case people forget, we got to remind them.
But you keep on saying the other. I am the
host. My fault.
Other
My fault.
and the. Everybody knows I'm Anthony Rogerson.
He's Batman. I'm Robin.
We got our Batman and Robin going. Thank you guys for tuning in with us one more time. Anthony Rogerson, Jimmy Hicks.
Got another heavy hitter.
Listen,
got another heavy hitter.
There are heavy hitters, and then there are the heaviest of heavy hitters. You understand? So today we have a true friend of ours on studio with us today. Mr. Marcus Burton from Liberty Realty Professionals. And he's sharp though. He clean.
Yes.
He the cleanest thing. He the cleanest thing that done came up here. You understand? So thanks for coming, man. It's
Thanks
good.
for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's really good to see you. Marcus, just to tell you a little bit about what his pedigree. 13-year real estate professional. We're gonna round it up to 15 years. 15-year real estate professional. One of the top producers in 2020 and one of the strong producers in 2021 at Liberty. On-site agent. Tell us where you're not necessarily on-site right now in a particular subdivision, right? Or what you got going on? Are you at a particular subdivision
We're
right
in
now?
between communities right now because the last community I was at, we sold out. So
That was a flex.
We get a lot of those.
This is
That
a flex zone.
Yes.
You said, I'm in between communities because the last community sold out.
yeah, correct.
That means you wrote a hell of a lot of contracts.
Yeah.
That's what that
Did
means.
okay.
Yeah. So, how over the last, I guess, when we talk about selling out communities, right? How many homes are typically in a Liberty community? Like the last community you've been in, is it typically 100 homes, 200 homes? How is that? Because we know tying this all into inventory and what's been out there. What's typically a full community for Liberty?
It varies from community to community. Some as small as 4,
Really?
some as large as 180. So it just depends. We got a new one coming up next year. Should have approximately like 300 units in it.
Gotcha.
So it just varies.
Gotcha.
The community that I just left from, we had about 55 in that one.
55. Okay. Gotcha. People want to know, you're an on-site agent, and they think, oh, the on-site agent role is just easy. They just sit there and they you know what I mean? Like, so there's realtors out there who, again, you have a great role, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's realtors out there who think that, just sitting on site is an easy job and you don't have to work, right? And you've been on both sides, right?
Correct, I have.
So if you could explain your experience and the difference of being on both sides, from being an on-site agent to being out there in the field, driving around in your car and all of that stuff, how would you explain those differences?
The biggest myth is with new home construction is you come in, you open the door, you sit behind the desk, and buyers just come in. It's not true. You still have to work, you still have to advertise yourself, you still have to market the community, you still have to work your pipeline.
Right.
The only difference is we have the inventory.
Right.
It's on both sides, you're still working.
Right.
You're more of a listing agent on the new home construction side, whereas the resale, you're working as a listing agent and or buyer's agent.
Mm-hmm.
But the guts of it all, you are still working.
Right.
You have to work your pipeline. You have to follow up. You have to reach out to buyers. You have to make sure you're in constant contact with the lenders.
Right.
Same game.
Right. So, emphasize on still working, right? Like, so what would you say to, and I know that through our conversations and talking, and I'm going off from memory, correct me if I'm wrong, you've interviewed some realtors who want to come to the new construction side, right?
Correct.
And what do you look for in talking to that agent he or she has never done new construction? What do you look for in that person in wanting to get into new construction if you think they have what it takes to be a new construction a realtor?
The main thing is, how do you market yourself? What are your ways of marketing you as an individual to get people to come out to want to work with you?
Gotcha.
How do you manage your pipeline?
Gotcha.
Which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when the community is slow, how are you going to draw individuals out to want to view your product?
Right.
So how are you reaching out to them? How are you staying in constant contact with those potential buyers, those potential agents, loan officers that may have buyers that's looking? Are you reaching out to them? I have this product, this price, can close at this time frame.
Right.
Are they hungry?
Right.
I mean, because we don't want just bodies there occupying space. So you have to be a people's person as well.
Right.
Do you understand how to negotiate? Do you understand how conflict resolution?
Right.
Because as you know, there are some
right
people that know everything that really doesn't
know everything.
Oh, we know.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to remain professional because at the end of the day, it's about the customer.
Right.
We're trying to get the customer to the finish line.
Right.
So let's put our egos to the side and figure out what's best for this particular customer.
Got you.
Well, of course, like you're more on the builder side now.
Correct.
So builder or new construction versus resale. Of course, we're coming out of or kind of still in like the whole 2020, 2021 going into 2022 pandemic. So, of course, we've seen a shift in the market where not only has the pandemic caused a lot of what I feel is anxiety for people in the market in general, but also we had a drastic switch to a seller's market, coupled that with low inventory, which exacerbated the problem. So in your seat, how do you view the difference? Like, I guess in your seat, but from the buyer's perspective, how do you view doing a resale or looking for resale property versus just going to a new construction subdivision?
The most important part, I think, is education. So if the buyer's agent is educating their buyers about the process, because when you're looking for a resale, you can expect multiple offer situation.
Right.
Versus new home construction, you come in, we're going to view the available homes that meet that person's criteria. You like it, we write it.
Gotcha.
There's no multiple offer situation.
Right.
There's no escalation clause. The price I give you is the price it's going to be when the home closes.
Gotcha.
So you're not riding around, the agent's not riding around showing 15, 20 homes, because that's what I'm hearing now.
Yeah.
You're not getting outbid 15, 20 times. You come in, you find your particular home, we find a lot that home is on, you write the contract, relax, let us build a home.
Okay.
Just that simple.
So we know this because we do it, right? So there's Ms. Jones who's watching us, who's one of our 11 million viewers. Thank you for the other 10 plus million. You know, she shows up to your community, and you know it's early on in the process, and it's early on in the process, and all you guys have are the model home,
Correct.
some dirt, and some plans for her to choose from.
Okay.
Right. And something that you just said, you said, it's the price that I give you, right? And I think it's something to point out. That price isn't locked in until you have submitted your earnest money and you actually signed the contract, correct? Because a lot of times, and I don't want to speak out of turn, so correct me if I'm wrong. What the market has done this year in general, somebody might come out and see you on Saturday morning. Right, this Saturday morning, someone came out and see you, and that price was $310.
Okay.
Right, and they're like, "I'm gonna think about it." You know, I'm gonna think about it. Right, now they think about it all week. Right, but some things done transpired over the week in terms of sales that have occurred. Other buyers done came in, done did some things. They come back to you that following Saturday. 7 days have gone by, and they said, "Well, when we spoke about it last week, it was $310." I think we talked about.
Right.
But now that same lot that they were talking about, if it is still available,
I was going to say, if it's available.
if it's available, that $310 might not be available,
Maybe
but
$315.
it may be $315. So
Right.
talk about the importance of if that buyer likes it and they really want to get on it. Talk about the importance of signing that contract that day. And how much time did you give them to submit their earnest money? So talk about that. If they like it, how do they lock it in? And what's the best way of going about doing it?
First, like, have the pre-approval letter, write the contract, sign the contract, submit your builder's deposit.
Okay.
If you do not, like Anthony said, there's a chance, and there is a highly chance that it will be a price increase. Every so many sales with new home construction, that's what's called a price increase.
Right.
Today's price is not tomorrow's price unless
He said that with a tie on.
Right.
He said that professionally. Today's price. You
a lot of
smooth with
people
it.
think
price, not
because
yesterday's
that I
price.
sent them the contract,
Yeah.
that it locks the price. No, until you actually sign the contract, that's when the price
Binding,
locks.
going
So,
binding.
If I send you a contract today and you want to review it, you have as much time as you want. And I tell them you can review it as long as you want. However, if
Right.
there's a price increase prior to you signing the contract, your contract price will be the new price.
Right.
We're not going to honor the price that was when we sent you the offer.
Right.
So time is money.
Time is money.
Time is
Yes,
money,
sir.
and time is of essence, and we have the luxury here at Homestar of being a preferred lender for Liberty, and we
Well, no, not to cut you off because definitely wouldn't ever want to do
ever
that.
cut me-
No, I don't-
you
everyone-
can get kicked off the show for
I
doing
like working here, so
All right.
I never want to
Well,
cut
go
you
ahead.
off. Like
I'll allow it. I'll allow it this one time.
But speaking to that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the timeline is concerned, I think I would like for, well, not necessarily because, like we all glean on your expertise too, but as far as Marcus is concerned, because I think the whole inventory shortage kind of leans into new build or new construction too. Because like if everybody can't find anything out there and like everybody's tired of bidding wars and going in with 20 different people at the same time, then everybody's going to shift to new construction.
Cool.
So I guess talk a little bit about that as far as like the timeline is concerned in conjunction with what Anthony's discussing too.
I didn't get the discussion.
Well, my fault.
But-
So let Anthony finish and
we'll
then right.
We'll handle this internally when our guest is gone. But
We're gonna have to have an off-camera meeting.
Noted. Go ahead, sir.
It
I'm
depends
sorry.
on the stage of the home. Home's already completed. I think Anthony closed one about 14 days.
Yep.
Came in, saved the deal, was
Yep.
able to close that one in about 14 days
Okay.
because the home was completed. If it's a dirt lot, you're looking at anywhere from 90 to 120 days from completion, from time to contract to completion. So the most important thing is the buyer. Do not extend any new credit. Just because you're under contract does not mean you can go buy this new car,
Don't go get new furniture, right?
Just wait until you close and get the keys in your hand, and then you can buy anything you want.
Gotcha.
And so that's the biggest issue we run into when
Right.
we have to do the build job, is getting that buyer to understand, be patient, don't extend any new credit, because if you do, it could jeopardize the deal.
Right. So you said Anthony closed one in 14 days.
That's what I do.
'Cause that's a
don't
flex.
try to copy my style.
I was about to say that's a flex in and of itself.
Don't try to ask me how I did it, because I don't even know how I did it. You understand? I just closed my eyes and hit the button and let it go. But no,
That's a flex in and
Thank
of
you.
itself. But like as far as Anthony being able to close a deal in 14 days, I think that kind of goes into or segues into the conversation of preferred lenders.
Correct.
So as a building agent, or most builders have what's called preferred lenders.
Correct.
You may come in with your own lenders. Luckily, we happen to be the preferred lender at a few great builders, of course, Liberty included. So I guess speak to that as far as like preferred lenders versus outside lenders. Like what are the builders looking for, and why would it be, I guess not to necessarily say pressing, but why would you prefer somebody go with the preferred lender as opposed to
the benefit
Right.
of going with and to add to that, the benefit of using one of your preferred lenders, from the nittiest to the nittiest gritty of why you should use them, because we know there's a dollars and cents component to
Right.
that, and speak to the familiarity of why you would advise.
right?
Of course, the buyer has the option to use one of the preferred lenders or their own lender, which we call outside lenders. By using one of the preferred lenders, normally they will get some kind of concessions. That's the number one. So why leave money on the table? More important than that, the preferred lenders have a proven track record to get files closed. They're going to work after hours. They're going to answer the phone calls. They're going to be held responsible, because at the end of the day, if they're not performing, they can get kicked off their account.
Fired.
Right.
Outside lenders, they may answer the phone, they may not. They can hold up the file, and at the end of the day, if the file doesn't close on time, the buyer is going to be charged a per diem.
Right.
And that's per day until close, to be paid up front. No ifs and buts about it. So the most important thing is communication, as we all know.
Right.
To get the file to the finish line is that outside lender willing to
Right.
go above and beyond. There are some things preferred lenders would do to make sure his files closed, and an outside lender may not.
Right.
So they're there to make sure that the account is taken care of. They're doing what's best for the customer as well as the client, which is Liberty Communities.
Okay.
So I think that's very interesting because it's interesting for the potential client and the buyer, the client who is the buyer that's buying the house to
hold it when most preferred lenders, they're answering the phone on Saturdays.
Right.
Outside lenders, they probably chilling.
Right. Respectfully, outside lenders don't necessarily have skin in the game of this transaction. Right. And this is not to take anything away from any other lender because they may be a preferred lender for another builder.
Correct.
Right. They're just not. It's not the trilogy in this scenario, right?
And there are some great outside lenders.
Yeah.
Let's not get it wrong. Just that.
I mean, because we're the outside lender for properties or builders that we're not the preferred lender for. We've been the outside lender before too. So
right.
Yeah.
So to speak to that relationship a little bit, oftentimes, from my experience, you'll have a buyer who has called us. You have given them the option to call who they would like to call, use who you would like to call, but they end up calling us, and we thank them for that. Oftentimes, they think that we are one company, right? Liberty and Homestar is one, right? Like we're not one. When you're using a preferred lender, we all work in conjunction to get the deal done,
correct.
Right? But we're not one. So I think that is important to we're one in the transaction. We're two separate business entities.
Correct.
Right? And I think that's important to understand. And in addition, for the buyer to understand that, also for the buyer's agent
to understand, because I get that question a lot. I get the comment a lot. You're a lender. No, that lender works for your buyer.
Right.
They just happen to be on our account, but they are not our lenders.
Right.
That is your client's lender. So you have the right to reach out to them.
Correct.
So feel free, give them a call. See what's going on. Stay involved.
Correct.
We need you to stay involved.
So we need you to stay involved because, again, from experience, if I'm comparing my experience in dealing with the new construction, a buyer's agent who's taking their client to new construction versus a buyer's agent who's just taking their client to resale.
Correct.
In many cases, not in all, but in many cases, the realtor is much less involved in the process than they would be in a resale, right? And I think it's important to understand that the process is still the same. Us as the preferred lender, we have an existing relationship with the builder, but we do not all work for the same company. If I can explain that, if that makes sense. Right. So something that you said, Ms. Jones comes in, she sees you, the house is not standing, it's dirt, right? It's dirt. Mm-hmm. She wants lot 132. Okay. Right? Typically, lot 132, if we sign this contract today, I believe you said the typical turn time is 90 to 100 days. Okay. Typically, right? Correct. 2021 was not typical. Correct. And by any standards was it typical, right? How have you managed this anomaly of what we have, and how have you managed it? And you have some clients out there right now that you're probably under contract, and they like, my house is 60 days behind what they told me. And I'm saying behind what they told me. I ain't gonna say behind schedule because the schedule has had to change based on what has occurred in 2021. Right. So speak a little about what has changed the format of how long it takes to go from dirt to your keys in your hand in 2021.
Okay, and you're gonna hear this word a lot: communication, which is very important. If we know ahead, we try to communicate that up front. If not, it was just a lot of shortages this year. I'm talking about lumber, windows, doors, electrical supplies. It was shortages across the board, which threw timelines off. So,
but why y'all didn't tell me that in advance? Why y'all didn't tell Ms. Jones in advance there was going to be a shortage?
Because there was a third-party vendor that we get these products from.
So y'all don't build windows? Liberty don't y'all don't build doorknobs and all that stuff? Okay, just checking. Ms. Jones needs to know this because she want to call me and ask me, well, why didn't Marcus tell us there was not going to be no windows? Why he didn't tell us this 2 months ago? but you don't notice 2 months
Right.
ago.
And
Exactly.
those vendors not only supply those supplies to Liberty, they supply them to other builders as well.
Right.
So depends on who get their order in first. It just was just a shortage,
Right.
and that threw timelines off. You try to communicate that as best as possible. However, we are at the mercy of the vendor supplying these supplies. I
Right.
mean, they're telling you one day, it doesn't show up. I mean,
Yeah.
do you not think we want to get this house closed?
Right.
We do.
Right.
The owner wants to sell it so he can buy new property, new land. The agents want to close so they can get their commissions.
Right.
The loan officer wants to close so they can get paid, and of course the buyer wants to close so they can get their new home.
Right.
So it's not like we're just trying to hold up the process. It's just that we cannot get these supplies.
Right. So supply shortage, and again, we will. There's been a supply shortage across the board. I mean, from lumber to windows to
Yeah.
all type of materials that are needed for the home. So
And I would assume a labor shortage.
labor shortage as well. How do you handle Mrs. Jones that calls you and says, well,
Miss Jones is a character.
Ms. Jones is a character. Ms. Jones is she's across the board. Ms. Jones called and she says, well, Marcus, my contract says we're closing on or before January 15th. What should I do about my lease? Because I got to make a decision about my lease today, right? So how often do you get that call about what should I do about my lease?
Well, I try to remind Ms. Jones, when Ms. Jones came in to write the contract, I advised her and her agent not to terminate their lease. You should wait until your home is at least in drywall before you terminate your lease. And then again, you may want to wait until you get your keys in your hand.
Right.
Because not only were there supply shortages, what if it didn't appraise?
Right.
And the seller does not want to reduce the price.
Right.
And you don't want to pay the difference. Where you going to stay then?
Right.
You terminate your lease, home didn't appraise. The seller said, I want you to pay the difference. You saying, no, I'm not paying the difference.
Right. So
Now, yeah, so,
yeah.
so I know you think you're saving money by terminating your lease, but you're probably going to end up spending more if things doesn't work out because rent is, I'm going to say the rent is going up.
Yeah.
You got to put down more money to find a new place
Yeah.
versus staying there. You close at a particular time, you got about 45, 60 days before your first mortgage payment,
Right.
which is typically 60 days to terminate your lease. So you're still not paying
Right.
mortgage and rent at the same time.
So there's really not an overlap.
Exactly.
Right. That's a great. I never thought about that. Must be the tie.
Whatever.
must be. I never thought. I know. So the hedge or the safer play is to ride. Even if you have to go into a month-to-month lease, right?
Right.
You go into a month-to-month lease. You got through January, right? The house isn't ready yet. It's being worked on. It isn't ready yet. You go into February. Now you close on your property. Let's just say February 5th or whatever. You move into your house.
Correct.
Right. Your mortgage, as we know, that first mortgage is February. The first mortgage is not due to April 1st.
Right. So y'all was
Okay.
gonna skip a month after you close.
You're gonna
right?
skip a month after you close. So in that instance, you're still have that safety net of okay, maybe I do have to pay another month in my lease, but I'm not paying a month in my lease and my mortgage.
Exactly. And you can take your time and move. You don't have to be stressed to move. Your furniture's not sitting on a U-Haul truck.
Right.
It didn't close. Now you're upset.
Right.
So it kind of helps with the stress
Right.
of the home buying process as well.
Right.
You're not as stressed of getting stuff in. You made the order. What if the house didn't close? Now you can have it delivered to your apartment instead of your home. So just
Right. And that's something that we get a lot, and I'll let Jimmy kind of, if you will, talk to about, people calling, clients calling you, asking, I'm supposed to close on the 1st. I want to go and order furniture. I want to go and order appliances. Now, a lot of new construction. How has it, that thought, how has it been with the incentives this year with, in your experience with the home builders? Because I know a lot of home builders offer tons of incentives sometime in terms of appliance packages and all. Are those incentives still out there, or have they dried up a little bit because they don't necessarily need to be out there? Where are you guys with incentive packages and all, like appliances and stuff like that? Is that something
as
that...
far as us, I would say incentives are still the same.
Gotcha.
But there are some builders who seller paid closing costs has been reduced because they don't have to pay as much now because
Right.
the demand is there.
Right.
But as far as Liberty, our incentives remain the same throughout the entire year.
Okay, gotcha. So Jimmy, talk to us a little bit about, again, we're sorry, Ms. Jones, I don't mean to ride you, but Ms. Jones is like, we're not through the loan process yet. We're about 15 days in the underwriting process, right? But Ms. Jones, she want to go get all her furniture because she's moving out of her apartment. She don't want to take that apartment furniture into her new house, and she calls you and say, Jimmy, I want to buy a new living room set, a bedroom set. What do you advise to Ms. Jones with all of that stuff?
I would probably ask Miss Jones if she was getting a new car and buying a tank of gas jeopardize her getting that new car where she still get that tank of gas. Because it's going to be the same thing. Like you're going to jeopardize your loan to get the home trying to buy furniture. Mm-hmm. So it's all a process. Like make sure that we have everything in order. Just like you said, don't end your lease too early. Like make sure you got the keys in hand before you make your next step and move. Same thing. Make sure you got the keys in hand and we got to clear the close and we're not checking anything else on credit before you go run to Rooms to Go or wherever you want to go get furniture. Because just to let everybody know, and I think we've touched on this in previous episodes, underwriting checks your credit one more time right before closing. Not necessarily to check the score, but to check and make sure that no new debt has been added. So to make sure that you didn't, like we verified you on this income versus this debt. So now we got to make sure, okay, like after we verified that, you didn't run out and go get a new car. You didn't run out and go get a new credit card. You didn't run out and go get a new furniture bill. So yes, to that point, I would say make sure that you're doing everything in order. Make sure that we have our clearances, our clear to close, even that you got your keys in your house. Because like you said, if you time everything right, you'll have a month, possibly even 2 months to like gradually move your stuff over. So that's plenty of time for you to go. Like you can, matter of fact, after clear to close, we can go furniture shopping together. Miss Jones?
Are you buying?
No.
Oh,
I can help pick out the.
They don't need no. They can take Uber. They don't need you to take. If you ain't.
Nah, if they need like.
They ain't tricking if you got it big time.
If they need guidance on like what sectional to pick or something, like I got it.
Okay.
But we can make sure we go after
The
closing.
Okay.
Right. When we finish signing those docs and you get the keys in hand, let's go. Let's go to Ashley's. Let's go wherever you want to go. We get the furniture in.
My rule of thumb, I always tell people during the underwriting process, don't do anything you weren't doing before we started the underwriting process.
Or even to go a step further, let's
do less.
Right.
Do less. Great point.
Let's take it a step further. Me and your credit are dating now. As the lender, me and your credit are dating. So once you let me pull your credit, and take this how you want to. Once you let me pull your credit, we go together. So nobody else needs to touch your credit except for me during this home process.
Credit, is that a euphemism for something? Anyway,
take it how you want. I'm just saying.
We're gonna skip right over that.
All I'm saying is nobody else needs to touch the credit other than your lender. Once they pull credit and once you're in this process, nobody really needs to touch your credit other than them. And the only reason they would need to touch it is if you're doing a rescore to get your score up for a better interest rate or whatnot, or something along those lines. But yeah, nobody else. Like Macy's got 25% off if you sign up for their credit card.
Not sign up.
No.
Do not sign up.
You're gonna have to pay full price today.
Right.
Like that's just
because you have a bigger thing. You have a bigger thing going on.
Exactly.
So something that I want to ask you too, Marcus, and oftentimes, what is the, I guess on a percentage basis, because you're on site, right? You're in the clubhouse or in the not the clubhouse, the community. You're around the community. You may be showing some properties that are just being built, or you may be in the model home, sales, right? Sales office. Someone walks in and they don't have a realtor representing them, right? What is the percentage of that versus someone that already has a realtor representing them? And do you suggest the on sales agent to represent a buyer in the transaction, right? How do you feel about that in terms of, should they have their quote unquote own representation, or should they sit down and do everything through you because you work for the builder?
Okay, right. It's a buyer's decision.
Right.
Once again, they do have the right to be, represented. They do not have to be. If they do come into the community, I would then have to treat them as a customer because my client would be Liberty. Could we sign a contract? We sure could. I can go over the contract with them. I can give it to them, let them read the contract, answer any questions they may have.
Right.
They can represent themselves.
How do they represent themselves? I didn't know that they can represent. They just represent. They're just doing everything.
Just doing everything. Signing all the paperwork, reading all the paperwork, make sure they understand it, asking the correct questions. So,
do they have is there a benefit to them representing themselves? A cost benefit to them? Yes, it is a cost benefit of them representing themselves, or is it?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay. So it's best to have representation.
It could be in today's market. I take that back.
Okay.
In today's market, that could be a cost associated because most buyers sign what's called a buyer's brokerage agreement.
Right.
We're saying, hey, ABC is going to represent you throughout this process. In that buyer's brokerage agreement, there is a minimum percentage that buyer will have to pay the agent is expecting. So a lot of agents are expecting 3% commission off the sale of the home. Right. And it also says in that buyer brokerage agreement, if the seller is not paying the 3%, the buyer is going to pay the difference. So if a new home community is paying less than 3%, then that buyer could then be on the hook to pay that difference.
Right.
So there could be a cost associated with them.
Right. So I'm gonna give some simple math to what Marcus is saying, so people can visualize it. If the new home construction community is only paying 2%, there's a 1% in there that needs to be paid.
Correct.
Okay. And let's just say you're buying a $400,000 house, right? 1% of $400,000 is $4,000.
Correct.
So that agent that's representing you, he or she wants that 1%. So what will happen is if you sign that agreement that you're going to make up the spread, that $4,000 gets added on to your closing costs. Okay, that's essentially how cash to close.
Yes, cash to close.
Cash to close. I said close. Cash to close. So you will end up you will have to pay that. And again, it's not a bad thing. So I don't want to present it as it is a bad thing. But someone's doing a job for you, i.e., your agent, and they're negotiating and going under contract as to what they should be getting paid for doing the job for you. So I think that's important to highlight and to understand. What was?
Well, no, I guess my next question would be, and I guess we would be asking you to kind of take your bias out of it as an agent for a builder. What do you think was more, or what route do you think was more beneficial, especially in this market in 2021 for potential home buyers? Do you think trying to get into the resale market or just going straight to new construction to avoid that hassle, so to speak? Like, what would be more beneficial as far as across the board, like not necessarily just time constraints with getting in a bidding war versus not, but as far as everything, like being able to get more space versus not a lot of space, being able to possibly save some money versus paying like higher fees because we know that construction costs are just up, so that's gonna make everything go up. So yeah, what
pros and cons for both? It just depends on the particular buyer.
Okay.
But for the most part, stress wise, probably been new home construction because there's not that multiple offer situation.
Right.
You're not bidding. You know the home is new. It comes with a warranty. So you still have the builders there to talk to make sure everything is functioning properly. Versus resale, there's a lot of people out here that's flipping. They do a good job.
Right.
In their flipping process.
Right.
So you would then really need a good inspector to go in to really make sure that they, properly.
They didn't do shoddy work, right?
They're supposed to do. When you close, it's yours.
Okay.
No warranty.
Right.
That seller's gone.
Right.
New home construction, the builder's still there. They're still building. So they're probably going to make sure that your issues are addressed.
Right.
Versus their resale, it's yours now.
Right.
You still got to pay for it.
Right. And I think that's a great point in talking about issues being addressed. Because again, even because a home is new, that doesn't mean it's not going to come without any issues, right? And the thing about the issue is easily fixable. Because a lot of times you guys still have
warranties.
You're going to have your warranties, and you may have tech people that are still on site. Like literally might be next door working on another home, right? Like you have hands on deck. We had one situation 2 weeks ago, and a guy closed on his home, and we were cold here about 2 weeks ago, or whatever. Something happened, and his furnace wasn't working. Right? He called me like the next day. He's like, "Man, I just got to the house, whatever. The furnace isn't working. Happened to be a new construction." I called the on-site agent, and the on-site agent says, "I'm sending somebody over there right now." Right? Nice. And I thought that was awesome because one, the guy was cold. Right, he's trying to get he in his big old house. He ain't got no furniture in it to even absorb any type of heat. So that cold.
And he probably thinking like, I just bought a house and I was walking into like having to get something repaired. Right. So yeah.
Right. So they were able to fix the issue pretty quickly. So to get off of that a little bit, something that
to piggyback off of that real quick, resale. You just closed. He walked into that situation, didn't have a warranty.
Right.
And if he
that's expense.
And you just spent all your money on your cash to close.
Exactly.
Now you got to get a technician to even come out and look at the furnace.
And if he would have tried to call the seller wouldn't have been like, I'm sending somebody
Right. Now, in full disclosure, because I know that there's some agent out there that's cursing at us right now through looking at us saying, well, when I get my clients a new home warranty, right? So you can, right? I'm just saying, yes, we have awesome realtors, right?
Everybody's situation is
different.
Everybody's situation is different.
But so you can have a warranty on a resale. That is not because the home is new to you, so you can have a new home warranty on a resale as well. We're just talking a little differently. Something that we didn't mention in talking about your introduction and what you've done and what you're currently doing at Liberty. You're the broker over there as well, correct?
Correct.
Last week we had a guest on, and she was awesome. She was awesome. We got CEOs, man. We don't just yeah. Listen, we got heavy hitters.
We kind of like the Oprah of mortgage real estate podcast.
We the Oprah. Damn. But yeah, so
I guess that would make me Gail.
I'm not Oprah. You can be Gail and Oprah. I'm Stedman. I'm Stedman. You know what I'm saying? I'm Stedman. My pronouns are together, brother. I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to be Gail, by all means. Who am I to judge you? You know what I'm saying? I am Stedman. Pronouns for straight. But no, so in the time, again, I can't do this. Could your podcast get canceled? When you control the platform, they might take me off the internet.
You know what? We trying to ride that wave to where like we're famous enough to get recognized and people appreciate what we do, but we don't want to be too famous to where we can't say what we want to say
and get blackballed.
So yeah, right. Yeah. So we trying to ride that, we trying to stay under.
I'm with you. So talk a little bit about the response, and we asked this question to our guest last week about being a broker, right? Mm-hmm. And the responsibility that comes along with that, right? Because many people, for many reasons, they want to get their broker's license, they want to be a broker, but there's stuff attached to that. You got to manage some folks. So speak a little bit about that responsibility. And do you wear that jacket and tie when you brokering? You walk around. That's how you walk around
when you brokering.
When you brokering. I mean, is that? I just want to know because I might want to be a broker. I don't own a tie. Is a tie for prerequisite?
It might be what you're missing.
It might be what I'm missing. You know what I'm saying? So talk a little bit about you walking around and the responsibilities that come along with that, and having people under you that depend on you, so to speak. Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a lot of responsibility because at the end of the day, I'm really responsible for every contract that's written. Tanya writes it, Monique, Tom, John. At the end of the day, all deals belongs to the broker. So I have to make sure they understand contracts, that they're not being lawyers. You have to just, stick to the contract, don't try to make up anything, answering any questions they may have, and the one I really love, putting out fires. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to speak to the agent, they want to speak to someone above the agent.
That happens to me and Jimmy all the time.
So the most important is
You
just a
speak
lot
to
of
your manager.
responsibility.
Right. Yeah, don't talk to your manager.
Yes.
I am the manager.
So it's just a lot of responsibility. You want to make sure that your agents understand, what they're doing.
Right.
And we have great agents here at Liberty, but any broker.
How many are under you? How many are you?
14.
14. Okay.
But like I said, that's the most important thing. Just making sure that they understand what they're presenting to the public.
Right.
Because this is a profession and people look to us to make sure that we're giving them the correct information.
Right.
Not trying to do anything that's illegal.
Right. So you got your broker's license, right? And also, I got my loan. When Jimmy and I have our loan officer's license, right? The test that we had to take had very little to do with the day-to-day job, right? So what was you got your license, you passed the exam, so that feels great, I'm sure. But then you stepped into it and you're like, oh shit, like there's brokering that needs to be done, right? So what did your idea of what being a broker was line up to what it actually is once you started doing it?
For the most part, because I've been in real estate, like I said, for about 13 years. So
yeah, we round up around here 15
okay,
years.
15 years.
Yeah.
So, and not only have I been in it for 15 years, I have numbers to support it. So that's the difference. Some people have their license, but they don't have any sales. So
say that again. Flex on them. Flex.
No,
Put
not
people in the
seriously
back.
though. Just because you have a low license number doesn't mean you have a lot of transactions.
Right.
Would you rather have somebody with a lot of transactions or with a low license number? That's a big difference. Same thing, like you said last week. Would you want someone just operating on you that never performed an operation, or do you want a doctor that's performed many operations?
Right.
So,
exactly.
Right.
that in itself helps you become a broker because you can get your broker license by just having your real estate license for 3 years.
Okay.
But does that make you a good
Right.
broker?
Right.
I mean, can you really assist and help agents if you don't have the experience?
Right.
So being a broker, I think more important is having the experience. Do you have the transactions under your belt?
Right.
Have you been through situations
Right.
so you can explain to the agent why you're saying what you're saying?
Right.
That's the most important thing. Those difficult contracts, you learn from them.
Right.
And then that's how you're able to help other agents moving forward.
Right. So I think that so with that is something that you're talking about the transactions. Oftentimes, what Jimmy and I get from realtors is, a realtor is respectfully, they're often fast to say how long they've been in the business, right?
Yeah.
You get a realtor would drop, I've been doing this for 20 years on you like it's nothing. And I mean, in one conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's very important to not get stale in what we do.
Correct.
Right? Just
and
because
even if you've been doing it 20 years, that doesn't mean you've seen all situations.
Exactly.
and
I mean, so
you have it because it's and how it was done. There's something to be said about the experience or the longevity, but oftentimes the longevity doesn't equate to experience.
Correct.
And what I mean by that is how it was being done 10 years ago is light years
even
away.
5 years ago.
Right,
Yeah.
light years away from how it's been doing now.
Correct.
Right? So I think it's important. Don't get caught up in, I've been doing this since 1985 because, and something that you was just saying was the contracts. These transactions, Jimmy calls them, he says these transactions are like a snowflake, right? None of them are the same.
correct.
None of them are the same. There's a foundation of how it should go,
Right.
but with every borrower being different and all situations kind of being different, having the flexibility to be fluid with how it's going to work out, right? So I think that is important, and just again being the broker and having the ability to manage a team, right? And talking and kind of spinning that into talking about the experience. Oftentimes we have, buyers who they'll use a friend as their realtor, right? and I'm cool. Like, we need to support each other in all capacities, right? But something that Marcus said is, okay, you may have your broker's license, but how many transactions have you had, right? I think it's very important for the people out there who are interested in purchasing a home, and I'm not telling you to walk away from your friend, right? We were all there.
But it's a big investment.
It's a big investment. If you have a friend, a coworker that you work with, and he or she is a licensed realtor, but both of you work a full-time 9 to 5, right? And your coworker at your full-time 9 to 5 that you actually working 9 to 7, and he or she's sitting in the cubicle right next to you from 9 to 7, but he or she has their license to be a real estate agent. Right. Respectfully, I would tell that first-time buyer or even second-time buyer, don't use that person. Don't use that person. And I'm not even. I want that person to succeed. Let me tell you why. I want to hear yours. But and again, it can cause some friction. However, more times than not, from my experience, that person can be successful if your contract don't have no curveball that come out of left field. Right. Okay. And we often see stuff coming out of left field, and you're going to need an experienced realtor and you're going to need an experienced loan officer to handle those things just on an emotional level. Never mind the X's and O's.
The key word is experience.
Yes.
So if that person is experienced, because I've been there, that's why I'm saying I was that person sitting with you, because I started out doing real estate part-time. Mm-hmm. But even doing it part-time, I was still doing some numbers.
You got to have your numbers.
Exactly. So as long as that person sitting in the cubicle with you have experience, and more important than that, is available to communicate with the loan officer, then I think it's going to be okay.
I would agree with that, right? And what I would say is, what I would tell that buyer is do your research understand. Everybody has Instagram for the most part, and don't know. Listen, the first thing a realtor or a loan officer gonna do if they have a closing, they gonna post that closing on Instagram, right? So
you almost forget that there's an inventory shortage out here. As many closing photos and photos you see on Instagram,
there must be a lot of houses because a lot of people a lot of people post. Right. So I would say to that person, if you're considering using a realtor, we would love for you to use Marcus, obviously. But the person that's sitting next to you at your job, again, we're not trying to soil relationships, but we're trying to advise you accordingly based on what we see every day and what we do. Do your research on that person. Correct. Make sure they have some transactions under their belt, because as Marcus said, it's a big investment. And it's probably one of the biggest investments, and hopefully to build wealth for you and your family. And you want to vet the person that's going to be your liaison throughout that process. I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't want to end friendships. I'm trying to make my job easier, man.
The transaction could end the friendship.
Yeah, transaction can end the friendship.
I was about to say, if you lose $5,000 worth of your friends' earnest money,
I cut family off for less. Loved ones, $200. You gotta go. I can't deal with this shit. It's too much pressure. So. In closing and wrapping all of this up, speak a little bit about where you see new construction, if you can, your projection and where you see Liberty and what y'all doing, the first quarter to the second quarter of 2022. How can the people reach you? What do you see? What do you see in the market coming up in the next 6 months or so?
I think the demand is still here, so as long as we can get the inventory on the ground, our sales going to continue to increase. The last few years, we've been able to double our sales from year to year. New home construction in general, I think, is still playing a strong part because of the demand. I know you guys are saying Zillow is folding, but at the end of the day, I still think the demand is here in the Atlanta area is so high that if anything, prices will level out before they plummet. I don't see that a fall off right now. I just don't. So I think we're just gonna continue to build, and the numbers may level out, but I don't see it because
Right.
there's too many buyers here right now.
Right. So kind of talking about, what you were saying about the inventory and prices kind of holding steady. The new construction, people coming in. So we're gonna get through the holidays. People coming in, writing contracts, say January 1, using that for example. 90 to 120.
No, we have some 30-day closings.
Oh.
We got inventory on the ground.
Oh, okay. So is there
Bolingbrook Manor, which is in Monroe County, and Goodall Wood, which is down in Macon.
Okay.
Both of those communities have inventory on the ground, 30-day close. Just need a buyer.
Okay. So what are the name of the subdivisions again?
Bolingbrook Manor.
Okay.
And Goodall Woods.
Goodall Woods. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they can be found on www.libertycommunities.com.
Okay. Is there a specific phone number? Is there a number, best number? Should they call you, or what's the best thing to do? Go onto the
numbers on the website.
Numbers on the website. Okay. So for all of the folks out there who are trying to we can't get you homes for the holidays. Sorry, we apologize. We tried. Home for the holiday. Well, it all depends on what holiday you're talking about, right? We may get you
for Valentine's.
We get you a Valentine's Day. New bedroom set for Valentine's Day.
Possibly before Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah. So it all depends on what holidays you can't spend this Christmas in
Right.
your new home. But if you go to the Liberty website, there are homes on the ground. New home standing, you can get in within 30 days. But yeah, that's I don't have anything else for him. It's always great to see you, brother. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think usually we have a segment, and we'll go ahead and give the segment called "Shoot Your Shot." So basically, this is like your 30-second Super Bowl ad to like speak to the masses, the 11 million followers that we have, and tell them why they should be coming to talk to you at Liberty Communities to buy their new construction home.
Marcus Burton, Liberty Communities, and the Liberty product. Tell us about it.
Liberty Communities' motto is "We build it, you make it home." So yes, we build it, you make it home. We stand behind our product, great product. Most of the homes going to be either full brick front, hardy plank siding, or brick water table. But if you come, ask for Marcus if possible. I'm going to definitely take care of you, but more important than taking care of you, I'm going to educate you. So I'm there to hold your hand throughout the process. Even if you come in with another agent, I'm still going to make sure that you understand what it is that you're doing throughout the entire process. I'm going to communicate, which is the most important part of the entire process, communication. So you'll be able to call me, text me, email me.
Got you. So Marcus Burton, Liberty Communities. You can come through us to contact him. You can go directly to the Liberty website. There is inventory. Once again, we appreciate you guys joining in. I'm Anthony Rogerson. My number is 678-359-3574, and this is
Jimmy Hicks, 870-413-0531.
And we are
Them Brothers.
We appreciate you. Talk to you soon. Peace.